Hello, friends and neighbors. Dr. Ken Berry here, family physician. I'm going to be hanging out with you guys, and today we're going to do things a little different. You might be very interested in what we're going to look at today. I'm going to be looking with you at various news articles and tweets that purport to give good nutrition advice. And if you take away nothing from this video today, the one take-home message that I want you to sear into your minds, stencil it on your heart, is that you should never, ever again just look at a news headline and maybe the subtitle and then take away some kind of health or nutrition message from that. And if you do read the entire article, you have to read it very, very carefully because obviously writers and publishers are excellent wordsmiths. They're good at using words. That's what they do for a living. And so they can craft a sentence in such a way that although they did not say what you thought you read, you will walk away from that article thinking that you read what they didn't say. This is very common. It's actually a trick that many, many journalists are very good at. Many writers and editors are very good at this trick. And so if I showed you a random news article for 15 seconds and then took it away from you and said, okay, what did you get from that? If they're good at wordcraft, 95% of the time, you're going to get the message that they wanted you to get, not necessarily what they said at all. And so I'm going to go through some of these tweets and news articles with you today and kind of help you get just a better understanding of how to look at these things with a critical eye. Always have your thinking cap on. Don't just see, even from a news outlet that you used to trust, because those days are over, my friends. Whether it's the Wall Street Journal or Time Magazine or WebMD, all these guys are in it for the clicks. They're in it for the ad revenue. That's their entire profit model now. So just because you used to could trust them back in 2000 or 1990 or 1980, that was before my time, then don't think that I can still trust these people. Even National Geographic, I found articles in the National Geographic that I'm like, what? Where did you get this? And then I got to look up the study, and it doesn't even show what they claimed that the study showed. So let's pull up the first one. This first one is a tweet. This is from WebMD. Now, this is WebMD's Twitter account. They have 3 million people who follow their account because they used to be trustworthy years ago. You could, if WebMD had an article about something, you could pretty much go, okay. Even as a doctor, I used to read WebMD articles. So let's see what this says. Watermelon isn't just a refreshing treat. When it's ripe, it's also got plenty of an antioxidant called glutathione. It strengthens the immune system so it can fight infection. Okay, that's the tweet. And then there's a link to the article and then some other nice graphic with other things. They say that watermelon has vitamin A in it, even though watermelon contains no vitamin A whatsoever. So let me show you a little trick. Anytime you see something like this, you can go to one of the chat engines, one of the large language model. Watch this. I asked ChatGPT 4.0, how much watermelon would a person have to eat to get a therapeutic dose of glutathione? It's a good question, right? Because you don't want to just get 1 microgram of glutathione if that's not going to help you. They implied that if you eat watermelon, you're going to get glutathione. ChatGPT says watermelon is not considered a significant source of glutathione. Further down, it says what's considered a therapeutic dose of glutathione is somewhere between 500 milligrams and 2,000 milligrams. This would mean consuming 25 kilograms, about 55 pounds of watermelon to achieve a 500 milligram dose of glutathione. Even ChatGPT, it's not a real human, says, which is highly impractical. So what's up? Were you able to see the ChatGPT screen, or were you still on the? I'm still getting the hang of doing this thing. Let me pull it up here. Let me do that again. Could you see that? Nisha's supposed to be helping me with my technology. Okay, let's see. Here it is. Here's the ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, right? Here's the question. How much watermelon would I have to eat to get a meaningful dose of glutathione? Its answer is, after it went through all the calculations, that this would mean consuming 55 pounds of watermelon to achieve a 500 milligram dose, which is the lower range of something that would be considered. And let's be clear, glutathione has never been shown from food to actually do lots of meaningful things inside your body. This is WebMD literally making crap up. And they also said that watermelon is a great source of vitamin A, which is completely and thoroughly untrue. So that's just the first example. Now, Scooby-Doo says, who is this? Scooby-Doo Dog says, I wouldn't trust ChatGPT either. I didn't. I actually looked this up and verified, but using one of the search engines like that is a great way to get a quick and dirty answer. And then you can use that quick and dirty answer to look up actual meaningful stuff. You would think that WebMD, with 3 million followers on Twitter, would have done that before they posted that. Now, you guys tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? What city, what state, what country? I tried to do this a little earlier today. We're not going to have Monday Night Live at 6 p.m. Central because it's Labor Day. And Nisha said that means she ain't working today, which I totally respect and honor. Now, let's go to the next. This time, we're going to be looking at an article from the Daily Mail. This is a UK newspaper, now a website. It's not considered very reliable, but millions of people read this. Now, here's the headline. Top dementia expert reveals the 2 popular diets that can really stop Alzheimer's before it strikes, according to science. So for many of you guys, when you heard that last phrase, according to science, you were like, so wonder what these 2 diets are. I bet you can guess right now. Tell me in the comments. I want you to guess in advance. What are the 2 diets that you think that this is a dietitian, is who it turns out to be. There's her picture, Professor June Andrews. So you can, I try not to judge people, but as a doctor who's been looking at patients for 22 years, I can make some assumptions based on this picture. So the first recommendation is to get plenty of kale, spinach, and broccoli. But fruits and vegetables are very important because of the antioxidants and vitamin C they provide. Now, is there any research proving that any antioxidant reduces your risk of dementia? No. What about vitamin C? No. So here, one U.S. study last year found that people who followed the MIND diet and prioritized green leafy vegetables like spinach, kale, could have fewer proteins in their brains linked to Alzheimer's. That's not Alzheimer's. That's not how you diagnose Alzheimer's. That's just proteins that are associated with having Alzheimer's. And then where's that other study? Yeah, so then further down here, they say that fewer signs of Alzheimer's disease in the brain is intriguing enough for people to consider adding more of these vegetables to their diet. Are you intrigued enough? Because I thought, let's go back and look at the title here. Top dementia expert, she's a nurse, reveals the 2 popular diets that really can stop Alzheimer's. Really can. That implies a causative relationship, but yet here they say, well, it's it's intriguing enough that you probably ought to add more. And then, of course, whole grains and legumes. That's beans. For you rednecks out there who don't know what legumes is, I used to be one of those rednecks. Lentils, soybeans also appear to have benefits for heart health and cognitive function. Appear to have. Never been proven, never been shown a causal relationship between lentil consumption, grain consumption, legume consumption, soybean consumption. Never a causation of preventing dementia, ever. Olive oil, of course, even though bacon has just as much monounsaturated fatty acids as olive oil. First of all, make sure your olive oil is real and 100% olive oil and not diluted with canola, which is very common. And the one thing that I do agree with in this article is you should stop boozing. You should stop drinking alcohol. Totally agree with that. So that's it, guys. If you thought that you were going to find the diets that really can stop Alzheimer's, the Daily Mail disappoints. Are you having fun so far? Is this a fun way to do this? You guys enjoying this? Tell me in the comments. Do you want me to do more videos like this? And because I used to try to make a response video to each news article, but over the last few months, they're literally putting out 5 or 10 articles a day about how dangerous keto is, about how dangerous carnivore is, about how you should eat more grains and beans. It's madness. A lot of yes pleases in the comments. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. You want to do the next one? Let's do the next one. This is from a news station in Philadelphia. Now, one thing you'll learn if you still watch your local news is that 90% of the advertisements on your local news are fast food, cereal, and pharmaceuticals. Every now and then there'll be a commercial about something else, but 90% of it is big food products and big pharma products. Now, I just assume that the people who are still watching local news still like that stuff and believed in it. My good friend Callie Means actually has another theory. He thinks that the big food and the big pharma companies waste money sponsoring local news so that when they've got a news story that they want to get put out, local news will carry it because they don't want to piss off Pfizer or Eli Lilly or Kellogg's or General Post, because if they do, they're going to lose 30, 40, 50% of their ad revenue. So here it is, the Kelsey brothers, 2 good football players, launching a cereal that combines their 3 favorite brands. So there they are, and it's basically, instead of just Honey Nut Cheerios and Reese's Puffs, they combine them to make them even more hyper palatable. Now, do you think the Kelsey brothers got a big check for doing this? Of course, sure. It's a brand sponsorship. I'd like to know how many zeros were on that check, right? I just need one check like that. I'll be done. But yeah, of course, they got a big fat check for this. Now, do you think that this is actually relevant news for all the people who live in Philadelphia and the Philadelphia area? Is this going to make their life better knowing about this? Think about it. This is an ad that literally the news is running for General Mills for free. General Mills makes all these cereals. So they paid the Kelsey brothers probably $1 million a piece. Who knows? I don't know. And they mixed up Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and made a blend. And it's a Kelsey blend. The Kelsey brothers are very popular. There are millions and millions of young children and young teenagers who idolize them. They want to grow up and play football or love to watch football. Whatever these guys say, they're going to do. Wonder how many children in the Philadelphia area will develop type 2 diabetes from eating the Kelsey blend. It's kind of sad. They look so happy. It's probably because of all the zeros on the check. I actually called out the Kelsey brothers respectfully because they're great football players, and I'm sure they're nice gentlemen. I'm sure they are. They just don't know what you and I know about ultra processed food. I actually called them out and said, hey guys, if you want to be real heroes to children, you'll give back that check, you'll make them take your face off the box, and you'll tell kids to have eggs for breakfast. That's how you could be a real hero. But that's just my opinion. All right. Did that one make you mad a little bit? That's not even a news article, but yet probably 10 minutes were spent on the local Philadelphia news talking about the new Kelsey Blend cereals, helping young children all over the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area develop type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, obesity, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome. That's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know quite what to say about that. You want to do another one? Let me know if you're having fun in the comments. We'll do another one if you want to. I've got several lined up. Yeah, here's a good question. Do you think they eat that cereal when they're in training? They have a personal trainer and a personal dietitian guaranteed. If their personal trainer and dietitians caught them eating that crap, they would get scolded 100%. You can't perform at the level they perform at at their age and eat that kind of crap. But it pays the bills to promote it, though, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of sad. Okay, let's do another one then. This next one is we already did that one. Here's one from the Harvard School of Public Health. That ought to be a good one. Harvard Health Publishing. Reading the new blood pressure guidelines. And so they've got this ubiquitous chart. And so they're saying that normal is anything under 120 on the top number, the systolic, and less than 80 on the bottom number, the diastolic number. So if your blood pressure is anything over 120 over 80, you need a blood pressure medicine. This comes straight from the American Heart Association. But the reason I wanted to show you this article is to show you this right here. The previous guidelines before this new update set the threshold at 140 over 90 for people younger than 65 and 150 over 80 for those 65 and older. Now, you would think as a non-doctor, well, they must have had just reams of research that just showed absolutely without doubt that lowering your blood pressure even lower than 140 over 90 must save lives. It must just make black and white, day and night difference. It does not. The research they used to make this new guideline was trivial benefit at best. What they didn't take into account is when you take somebody who's over 65, for sure, a normal blood pressure for somebody over 65 is anything under 150 over 80. I still agree with the previous guidelines. If you take somebody like that and you lower their blood pressure too much, you actually increase the risk of having a stroke. You increase the risk of lightheadedness, dizziness, vertigo, which is going to increase the risk of falling down, which is going to increase the risk of a broken hip or a broken wrist or ankle, or getting a brain bleed and winding up a vegetable in a nursing home. They didn't calculate all the risks of lowering the blood pressure. They just looked at the minuscule reduction in risk from having a heart attack. So that's what's behind those numbers. And so I would recommend that all you guys go by the previous threshold, which is if you're under 65 and your blood pressure is under 140 on the top and under 90 on the bottom, you're healthy and fine. You don't need a blood pressure pill. If you're over 65, then your blood pressure needs to be under 150 on the top and under 80 or 85 on the bottom. You're healthy. Congratulations. You don't need a blood pressure pill. And also, make sure that your blood pressure is being checked properly. Most doctors' offices do not check your blood pressure properly. I've got a YouTube video on how to check your blood pressure properly. The best blood pressure, the most meaningful blood pressure, the actual accurate blood pressure is one that you check yourself at home when you're calm and relaxed. When you run into the doctor's office and you're late, you got a ticket, the front office girl was mean to you, and they rush you back there and they take your blood pressure while your shirt's still on, you got to pee, your feet are dangling, and they're talking to you while they check your blood pressure, all those things are wrong. That can make your blood pressure up to 40 points falsely high. Falsely high. This is a big deal, guys. There are millions of people in America right now taking a blood pressure medication even though they don't have high blood pressure because their doctor's office checked their blood pressure improperly and they caused a falsely high number. You would think a doctor's office would know better, but they very, very often don't. And if you want some examples of that, just look at the comments under my YouTube video about how to check your blood pressure properly. Hundreds of comments like, yeah, my doctor's office totally screwed this up. Fully Laden Swallow says, love the takedowns, Dr. Berry. Would love to see a video on how one determines a good study from a poor one. One of our coaches in the group is an expert on this kind of stuff, and we're talking to her right now about how we're going to make a video because you can't trust the media anymore. Keep in mind, a lot of you guys don't know this. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, LA Times, most of these newspapers don't have a science editor anymore. They don't have somebody who just fact checks medical, nutrition, scientific stories. They just have a reporter, and very often the reporter's specialty is not even science, medicine, or nutrition. They're like the restaurant review reporter, and they're like, here, write this article about cholesterol or about watermelons having glutathione in it. And they're like, I'm a restaurant reviewer. They're like, yeah, I know, but watermelon, that's food, so it's fine. Go ahead and do that. Not kidding. Times are tight at news websites and newspapers, and the nightly news for that matter. Times are tight. If they didn't take the big pharma and the big food advertising dollars, most of them would be bankrupt. All right, let's do another one. Let's see what we got next. Oh, yes. Here's a good one. You're going to love this. Eating meat. Now, this is the New York Times. This is considered one of the papers of record. If it said in the New York Times, then you can take it to the bank. Now, I think years ago that was probably true, but most of you surely know now, not so much. Not so much. Eating meat is linked with diabetes risk, new studies suggest. So the New York Times still has they're a better quality newspaper, even though they get stories wrong frequently. But even you see the language here, suggest, studies suggest, a little alliteration there, but they're not saying proven. They're saying, well, the research suggests that. And the research builds on previous finding connecting red and processed meat with type 2 diabetes. So it builds on a growing body of literature. But the problem is, if one study is performed incorrectly or improperly, then that's a crap study. And when you keep doing crap studies over and over and over, you just wind up with a big pile of crap. And in this case, that's what you got. And so they go on to say that, oh my gosh, and they're trying to blame this on heme iron. So what the underlying message is you need to eat a plant-based diet, not a carnivore diet, a meat-heavy keto, meat-heavy low carb. You need to eat a plant-based diet because plants have non-heme iron, which they're trying to say in this article that heme iron, the iron that our ancestors have been eating for 2.5 million years, now causes type 2 diabetes. We just discovered this. Never before, even though back when people used to eat a lot more fatty red meat, and type 2 diabetes was just virtually unheard of. A doctor in the 1930s might see 1 or 2 cases their entire career. People ate red meat every single day and lots of it, if they could afford it. But now all of a sudden, when there's this agenda to push a plant-based diet, oh, heme iron in meat. Now, I've got the copy of this study. Let me show you the copy of this study. so that you can kind of make up your own mind here. And I'll explain a little bit about epidemiology and statistics. Yes, here's the article. This is the article that article's based on. This appeared in Nature Metabolism in August of 24, August of this year. Integration of epidemiological and blood biomarker analysis links heme iron, that's the British spelling, intake to increased type 2 diabetes risk. So even though hundreds of thousands of people around the world, if not millions at this point, have used a red meat heavy keto diet or red meat heavy carnivore diet to literally reverse type 2 diabetes, reverse it back to normal. The boys and girls at Nature Metabolism are like, that heme iron, I don't know. I'm afraid it might cause type 2 diabetes. We don't understand what causes. So here's the take-home message right here. I've already got it highlighted for you. So there's this thing when you do epidemiological observational research. You calculate a hazard ratio. And one recent study saying that red meat causes type 2 diabetes had a hazard ratio of 1.10. Now, for those of you who are not statisticians, a hazard ratio of 1.0 means that it had no effect whatsoever. That's what 1.0 means. Back when they did all of the observational epidemiological research to show that smoking increased your risk of developing lung cancer, the hazard ratios they were coming up with in those studies were 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, hazard ratio of 30. That still doesn't prove that smoking causes lung cancer, but it is a strong association. So if red meat was so damn dangerous, so damn bad, you would think this hazard ratio would be at least 5 or 10 to rate an article in Nature Metabolism and in the New York Times. You would think it must have a big hazard ratio, but its hazard ratio is almost, it's, yeah. So this is any epidemiological study like this that has a hazard ratio of less than 2.0, less than 2, that's considered static background noise. It literally doesn't mean anything. But this got the front page of the health section of the New York Times. Red meat, type 2 diabetes. Now, are you starting to see you can't trust any of the large media outlets? And it's not, I don't think the media outlets are trying to trick you. I think that they cannot afford a science editor, a medical editor, a nutrition editor anymore. I think they're trying to put out an article every 5 minutes so they can get it posted online and get a ton of clicks, because that's how advertisers decide how much to pay them to advertise in their newspaper or on their website. How many clicks are you getting on average? How long do people spend on the article? This study in Nature Metabolism is foolishness. It is basically saying that a food that our ancestors have been eating for 2.5 million years has just been discovered that it causes type 2 diabetes. Now, if we had, going back in time, there was always this huge high rate of type 2 diabetes for anybody who ate a lot of red meat, because that would have been obvious. Medicine and nutrition researchers back in the 30s and 40s were much better than many that we've got now, much more apt to look and see patterns. There was no type 2 diabetes back then. A doctor might go 5 years and see 1 or 2 cases. And now there's a type 2 diabetes epidemic. Now, do you think people today outside of the keto and carnivore community, do you think the average person's eating more red meat today or less red meat than people ate back in 1950 or 1900 or 1850? Just based on everything you know about society, I would venture to guess they're eating way less red meat because they see an article like this every 10 minutes. And they're scared to death of red meat because they just read the headline. Of course, way less. Yeah. Have you, you guys should just look up restaurant menus from the 1900s, the 1910s, the 1890s. They're online. You can find them. Literally every appetizer, every entree has got some combination of meat, bone marrow, organs. It's literally just like a carnivore smorgasbord back in the restaurants in 1910, 1920, even 1930. Go look up recipes from the 1930s. They were eating way more red meat per capita back then. So they should have had a huge type 2 diabetes epidemic back in the early part of the 20th century. But there wasn't. Are you starting to see the pattern here? It's beyond ridiculous. All right, let's do another. Let's see what else we got here. Here's a good article. For any of you guys over 50, this is important. How often should you be taking ibuprofen if you're 50 or older? How many of you, be honest with me, you don't have to tell me in the comments, but how many of you guys take ibuprofen or Aleve or naproxen every single day? Just raise your hand, or you can put it in the comments if you want to. But you know, if you're doing that every day, that is no bueno. When you're younger, you can get away with it a little more. It's still not good for you. When you take one of these anti-inflammatories, you are blocking a vital part of the pathway of the inflammation healing pathway. Inflammation, acute inflammation, and healing, that's part of the same spectrum. That's why when you sprain your ankle, it swells up and it gets hot and painful. That's inflammation. That's the first step in how you're going to heal the damage you did to your ankle. When you take naproxen, ibuprofen, Aleve, any of the anti-inflammatories or the prescription ones, you are slowing down the healing process and setting yourself up for a higher risk of developing chronic pain in that injury site. A lot of people have chronic headaches. They don't know that keto carnivore can help with migraines and other chronic headaches, and they take ibuprofen every day. They're like, what am I supposed to do? How can I function with this bad headache every day? Look into your diet if you're still having those headaches. A lot of people have a bad back or a bad neck, and instead of looking at their diet, their posture, their lifestyle, they're just like, I'll just take some ibuprofen. The damage from doing that daily adds up. It's a big, big deal, okay? It can have disastrous effects on your stomach and your kidneys, okay? It can cause a gastric ulcer, a duodenal ulcer, ulcers further down. It can cause an esophageal ulcer if you don't get it all the way down with enough water. It absolutely can cause bone issues. It can cause kidney issues. One of not the leading cause of kidney failure, that's type 2 diabetes, but it is one of the leading causes of kidney damage, is just chronically taking ibuprofen, Aleve, naproxen every day. You got to figure out how to not do that anymore if you're doing that, okay? This is in Health Digest. Sometimes their articles are good, sometimes they're crap. This is a good article. How many of you guys still take an anti-inflammatory pretty much every day? Yep. Here's Jerry Ann. My husband hurt his kidneys from taking ibuprofen. Oh, so many of you guys think, well, ibuprofen, Aleve, naproxen, they're over the counter, and the FDA would not allow them to be sold over the counter if they were dangerous, right? Wrong. That means they're probably not going to kill you acutely, but absolutely they're not safe to just take willy-nilly every day and not think about the long-term repercussions. Now, if you haven't already done so, hit the thumbs up or the heart, guys, because there's new people out there who've never heard this stuff. They believe these articles. You can help me by sharing this video. You can help them by sharing this video. Let's get the word out. So many of our friends, so many of the people we go to church with or go to the club with or whatever, they don't know this stuff. They see, oh, it's New York Times. Oh, red meat causes type 2 diabetes. Okay, I'm just going to start eating whole grain bread and Kelsey Brothers cereal. I'm not going to eat red meat anymore. thinking that that will protect them from type 2 diabetes. Please share this video. Help me help other people. You want to do another one? What do you say? We don't have to, but if you want to, we will. What is that? Yes. You guys very often think, all my posting on X and Facebook and Instagram, I post this stuff all the time, Dr. Berry. I share your videos all the time. I don't think it's doing any good. Let me show you something. Let me show you what you guys cause to happen. Time magazine. Time.com. Time magazine. When I was growing up, I considered Time magazine like we kept the current issue of Time magazine by the family Bible, because if it was in Time, it was 100% true. You couldn't even argue with it. So they post this article online. What if ultra processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Under their health, diet, and nutrition. Now, do you think they still have a health, diet, and nutrition editor that fact check this? If you think they do, you need to look this article up and actually read it, because it is an effing joke. This is written by a dietitian who believes that you can be healthy at every size, who believes that you should not shame people for eating ultra-processed junk food. She believes that Kelsey Brothers cereal blend is real food, and if somebody wants to eat that for every meal, you should not judge them or shame them. You shouldn't even speak to them about it. Now, I don't think we should shame people or make them feel bad about themselves, but I absolutely think we need to educate people. And so when I read this article, I was like, oh my God. I retweeted it with some smart-ass comment, and so did about 1 million other people. So look at the title again. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? You see how they're introducing that little bit of doubt? Like, well, I mean, if Time Magazine's not even sure if Lucky Charms is bad for me, then it's probably fine. So many people jumped on their case and called them out for this stupid shit that 2 hours later, watch the difference. This is what happened. 2 hours later on their website, it went from this title that you're seeing right here to this title. Why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra-processed foods. Before, you guys made your voices loud and clear. This was the title. This would trick anybody. They'd be like, well, I guess it's not that bad. Time got so much grief on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram. People like you and me calling them out, going, what the hell's wrong with you? This article is ignorant. This dietitian is ignorant. Like, it wasn't even a good, cogent, coherent argument that she was making. She was just basically saying people should eat whatever they want, whatever makes them feel good, whatever makes them happy, and nobody should tell them that they shouldn't eat that. That was her message. Now, I agree with her. You shouldn't be at the supermarket just coming up to random people and saying, what the hell have you got that in your cart for? Don't eat that. That's probably rude. Shouldn't do that. Although I've been tempted before. But if we're talking about your friend that you love, or a loved one that you love, your spouse, your brother, your aunt, your grandma, 100% help them understand that ultra-processed food full of sugar and grains and vegetable seed oils, that's bad for you. You're going to have a heart attack or a stroke or get cancer eating that crap. So 2 hours after this was posted, you guys caused such a ruckus, such an uproar, such a cacophony, that Time Magazine bent the knee and changed the title to Why One Dietitian is Speaking Up. In other words, do you see how Time pulled back from this? Like, well, they changed it from first person voice to, oh, this one dietitian, just one dietitian. But we feel like we should magnify her voice. So we're going to keep the article up. But why one dietitian? Yeah. And you guys read this article and look for the dietitian's name. And if she's your personal dietitian, I would highly recommend you get another dietitian. Yeah. So don't ever think that you commenting and sharing and retweeting and sharing on Facebook, Instagram, other social media, don't think you're having zero effect. You're having an effect. You're absolutely having an effect. And when enough of us start piling on like this, okay, so next time Time Magazine, the editor gives this same person, hey, we need you to write an article about bacon causing cancer. Do you think this article this author might do a little bit more diligence? Just be a little bit more careful about who they ask. And maybe they won't ask this dietitian 100% for sure. She'll never have another article about her in Time Magazine, ever. The way they pull back from her, they're like, okay, yeah, that is dumb. I guarantee you the editor didn't even proofread this article before it went on the website. Never trust a headline from sources you used to consider reputable. You cannot trust them anymore. You cannot trust Time. You cannot trust Newsweek, USA Today, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I could go on and on and on. LA Times. You can't trust them. They are in the business of getting clicks. They need hundreds of thousands of people to read this article in a short amount of time so that then they can get a check from the advertisers. That's what this whole game's about. How does that make you feel knowing that you have that much power, that you can literally affect time.com? Now, keep in mind, there were some big names on Twitter. There were some of us that have hundreds of thousands of followers calling them out and calling them everything but an alley cat. It's like, what is wrong with you? Who wrote this? Carrie Franklin says, recently heard most of our brain is made of myelin, and myelin is mostly lipids. Absolutely true. How does carnivore diet provide these lipids? Well, a properly formulated carnivore diet, which is you eat fatty red meat until you're full. You eat eggs with the yolk. Those are great sources of lipids. Lipids is another word for fats. Yolks are full of healthy animal fat. The fat on your red meat, the skin of your chicken, the skin of your turkey, the skin of your fish, eating fatty cold water fish. These are all great sources of lipids. They're very good for your brain. All right. I think I've got one or two more if you guys want to do another one. You want to do another one? Let me see what I got. I think I've got one or two more. We did that one. We did that one. We did that one. We did that one. Oh, here's a good one. You'll like this. Okay, here we go. This is in sciencealert.com. Millions of people who are doctors, pharmacists, dietitians, and other people in other health and scientific fields read Science Alert all the time. Is keto worth the risk? A new study casts doubt on its safety. New research suggests keto diet could put us at risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, irritable bowel disease, to name a few concerns. Even though people have used a meat-heavy keto diet to stop the progression of heart disease, not have a stroke. Hundreds of thousands of people have used a ketogenic diet. And remember, carnivore is keto. Hundreds of thousands of people have used keto to reverse their type 2 diabetes and keep it reversed. Tens of thousands of people have used a carnivore diet to reverse their irritable bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. But they're saying, oh, keto might cause this. The study was small. but the results might make people think twice about whether keto diet is worth the trouble, because eating lots of delicious fatty meat and some low-carb veg and a few low-carb nuts and some berries, that's such trouble. That's what keto is, by the way. Keto is not keto cookies and keto bread and keto snack bars. Keto is real whole food. Led by researchers at the University of Bath. I've been to Bath once. It's so beautiful there. They found, are you ready for it? The keto diet increased cholesterol. And we know that it only does this in 1/3 of people who start keto. 2/3 of people, it does not increase their cholesterol. It also reduced good gut bacteria, even though the leading experts on the microbiome in your gut will tell you, we don't know which bacteria are good and which bacteria are not good. We have no idea. It's going to take 10 years of research to figure that out. But somehow these guys, the author's name is not listed at the top. Maybe it'll be at the bottom. And the keto diet reduced the body's ability to tolerate sugars, shifting the body's energy source from glucose to fats. Sounds bad. It's called being in ketosis. It's actually the native state of humans. When they're out in the wild, they're in ketosis most of the day. Both the low sugar diet and the keto diet led to fat loss. Yeah. And so when you lower your percentage of body fat, that helps you lower your risk of heart attack and stroke, doesn't it? And also, it helps reverse type 2 diabetes. The ketogenic diet is effective for weight loss, but it comes with varied metabolic and microbiome effects that may not suit everyone, explains physiologist Dylan Thompson of the University of Bath. He's a physiologist. I get tired of going through these articles. Do you guys get tired of hearing me do this? Because it's the same thing over and over and over. Oh my God, keto might cause keto butt crack. No. By week 4 of the keto diet, participants' gut microbe diversity had changed with massive reductions in the relative abundance of bifidobacterium, which you may know as one of the heroes of probiotics. Okay, yes, a lot of probiotic manufacturers put bifidobacterium in their probiotic. Yeah, because currently we think, the current hypothesis is it's probably beneficial. Nobody knows for sure. In your gut itself, whether having high or low levels of that makes any damn difference whatsoever. Gets me fired up. Next, you're going to have to turn the air conditioner up. Oh my goodness. So also it says in here somewhere, oh yeah, by the way, the keto diet lowered triglycerides, which we also know is a risk factor for heart disease. So it lowers all these things. The one thing it does bad that they will not give up harping about is that in 1/3 of people who start keto or carnivore, their LDL cholesterol goes up. In 2/3 of people, it does not. So if you took 100 people and put them on a high-fat keto or high-fat carnivore, 1/3 of those people, their cholesterol and LDL cholesterol will go down. Yeah, down. 1/3 of people, their total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol will stay the same. And 1/3 of people, total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol would go up. I know 33 plus 33 plus 33 does not equal 100. The last guy would be a lean mass hyperresponder, and his LDL cholesterol would go through the roof and cause the doctor to have to use their smelling salts to keep from passing out. People on the keto diet had increased levels of the enzyme PDK4 in their skeletal muscle, which is also seen in type 2 diabetes. So you see it in both things, but does that mean that PDK4 causes type 2 diabetes? Hell no, it doesn't mean that at all. It's maddening. It's frustrating. It makes me sad that people who are supposed to be experts and authorities on this, who have people trusting them with their life, say just the dumbest shit. And then Time magazine or the New York Times is like, yes, let's publish that immediately. Unbelievable. James says, thanks, I feel much better. Good. Smedley Butler said that Time magazine also chose Lenin, Marx, Hitler, and Herbert Walker Bush as its man of the year. Interesting. Thank you, Geraldine. We're working on it, Tommy. Tommy says, why is there no carnivore march on Washington? We're working on it. There's actually much better ways to move the needle than just a bunch of us showing up in Washington and marching around with signs. That typically doesn't do much. Marty Mack said that my carnivore diet is dangerous to the bottom line of big food, big pharma, and my drug pushing doctor. I wonder how many of them that's what they're worried about. Like, man, if this keto carnivore thing catches on, we're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. Can you imagine Eli Lilly? If enough of you guys shared this video, and then enough of those people shared this video, and it got all the way around the world, and literally everybody on the planet Earth who had type 2 diabetes, if they're like, keto or carnivore, huh? Oh, Dr. Berry's got a bunch of videos about both. I like vegetables, so I'm going to watch the keto. Or, well, I just like meat and eggs. I'm going to watch the carnivore. If every single person with type 2 diabetes did that, let's just say there's 100 million of them around the entire world. Now, of course, we'll just talk about adults here. They're adults. They're going to do what they want to do. And there'll be some of them who they'll watch my videos about keto or carnivore and go, I just like my cake and pie, okay? I understand that even if I use pills and injections to keep my A1C lower, I'm not really lowering my risk of heart attack, stroke, amputation, blindness, kidney failure, impotence. I'm just keeping my blood sugar number falsely low with these pills and injections. But I don't care. I'm so addicted to cake and pie and cookies. I don't care. I'm just going to take my medicine and eat dessert. Cool. You do you. That's fine. But out of that 100 million, I'd say probably 30 million people are going to say, I just want to eat cake and pie. I don't care. Okay. But the other 70 million people, if they knew exactly what keto was and how to do it, what carnivore was and how to do it, how simple it is, how sustainable, how inexpensive it can be if you do it according to my guidelines. And they're like, they would be affronted. They'd be like, so you're telling me that all I've got to do to completely reverse type 2 diabetes is eat fatty meat and eggs and seafood if I want it. That's it. You're literally, I can eat 3 times a day, 4 times a day. I can eat as much as I want, but my type 2 diabetes will go away. And I said, yeah. And they'd be like, my doctor's never told me that. My pharmacist never said that. I've never seen a Eli Lilly commercial or a Merck or Pfizer commercial say that. My local news has never said that because they're bought and paid for by big food and big pharma. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Breitbart, none of these guys ever said that. Maybe look at their advertising. And then they try it. And they come back 3 months later or 6 months later and they're like, yeah, my type 2 diabetes is gone. I have a normal A1C. And also I've lost 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. Yeah, you're welcome. No extra charge for that. My triglycerides also came back down to normal. My blood pressure came back down closer to normal. My aches and pains got better. My mental clarity got better. All that just from eating meat and eggs, plus or minus seafood, or Keto, which is half your plate covered with fatty meat and eggs with the yolk, half your plate covered with low carb veg, a few nuts and a few berries for dessert. That reversed my type 2 diabetes. And you're telling me that the American Diabetes Association, they're not putting out a tweet every 10 minutes telling people that? You're telling me they haven't put out a tweet ever telling people that they can reverse type 2 diabetes with keto or carnivore? Never? Not once? That's weird. At some point, you just have to stand back and go, that's kind of weird. The Journal of the American Medical Association, they don't have one article about that. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Tokyo Times, nobody? Wow. Yeah. This is a literal grassroots ground up movement. We started this 7-8 years ago. And me and Nisha used to have 5 people watching when we'd be live. Today we got 5,100 on this live, and it's Labor Day. A lot of people are at the river or the lake or the ocean. You guys can make a difference. You saw the Time article change the title. As soon as we jumped on them, it was like, what is wrong with you? They changed the title. We can have that effect if enough people jumped on the Kelsey brothers. Be like, dude, we're never coming to your game again as long as you're promoting this literal diabetes-causing cereal to little children. Little boys who want to grow up and play football and be like you, they're not going to be able to, because by the time they're in their late teens, they'll already have neuropathy from eating your cereal. With enough just regular folks like you and me, if we ball up and stand up and speak up often enough, loud enough, a lot of this foolishness will stop. Just think about it. Think about the power that you have that you don't really know you have. All right, we've got a few minutes left. I'll take some questions. If you guys have any questions, type them into the comments. Keep them as short and sweet as you can while including all relevant information. Yeah, here's a good, this is Northern Nevadan. Remember the Wheaties? I do. When I was a boy, this is why I know the Kelsey brother thing is a big deal. When I was a boy, I idolized Bruce Jenner. That was his name back then. He was a pentathlete. He competed in the pentathlon, where you run, you sprint, you throw the javelin, you do all this. I don't know, it's 5 different sports. I wanted to grow up and be Bruce Jenner at that time, back then. I got out in the yard every day. I had a stick that I'd whittled into a redneck javelin. I would throw my stick. I would run. I would sprint. I would jump over stuff. The high jump, I think, is one of the others. I would do the long jump. I would just, and every morning without fail, unless Granny Berry made me eat eggs and bacon. What do you think I ate for breakfast? Wheaties, because Bruce Jenner was on the box. I wanted to grow up and be an athlete like he was. And I'm speaking past tense now, so don't think I'm being insensitive. I'm speaking as my 6, 7, 8-year-old boy self. I wanted to be that guy on the Wheaties box. And in my juvenile brain, I thought, well, he wouldn't be on the box if this stuff wasn't at least part of the reason that he's in the Olympics. That's how kids think. They associate things. That's how some adults think. That's why the researchers think they can say, oh, there's a possible association between red meat and diabetes, and half you guys will fall for it because you still make associations. Bruce Jenner's on the Wheaties box. If I want to be in the Olympics, I should eat Wheaties. You don't think there's young kids, poor kids, kids that got no chance of ever making the kind of payday that the Kelsey brothers got for recommending cancer-causing, diabetes-causing cereal? They're going to be like, that's the Kelsey brothers. Remember, he was in the Super Bowl. Mom, I want to eat that every day. You think I'm being cute, but I'm not. I remember. I cut the front out of the Wheaties box and put it on my wall. He's crossing the finish line in his victory pose. Yeah, I kept it for Years, probably 5 years, I had that on my wall. You don't think kids idolize sports stars? Of course they do. Yeah, let's talk about type 1 diabetes. Mean key. Type 1 is much like a birth defect. Yes, effectively, I know what you're saying. But carnivore helps a lot to maintain blood glucose. Yeah, any of you guys know somebody with type 1 diabetes? It's much less common than type 2. Your pancreas stops making insulin. Your beta cells stop making insulin. And so even if you just eat protein, your blood sugar goes way up. But if you eat carbohydrates, if you eat sugar, your blood sugar skyrockets and you can't make any insulin to bring it back down. You got to inject the insulin. Most people with type 1 diabetes are diagnosed very much younger in life than people with type 2. So they have longer periods of time for the damage to be done. Just imagine there's young 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old type 1 diabetics who see the Kelsey Brothers cereal and now they're begging their mama for it. Mama doesn't want to be an asshole. I mean, her kid's already got type 1 diabetes. She's like, I guess they can just take some extra insulin if they eat it. No, mama, no, that is not okay. That does not reduce the risk of losing a toe. It does not reduce the risk of neuropathy, impotence, blindness, kidney failure, heart attack, stroke. No, matching the carbs with insulin, that does not protect them. You want to feed them as low a carbohydrate diet as you possibly can. If you feed them a low enough carbohydrate diet, meat heavy keto or ketovore or carnivore, you'll be able to reduce the amount of insulin you use by 80% for them. You'll have far fewer hypoglycemia episodes. You know how scary they are. They'll just have a nice, normal little blood sugar. They'll be able to go outside and play without you having to worry. Are they going to get hypo? It's so much easier. On Facebook, there's a Facebook group called Type 1 Grit. That's just parents of type 1 diabetics who use a low-carb, keto, ketovore, carnivore diet. And they use 80% less insulin, and they have a normal A1C, and their risk of all the terrible complications are drastically lower, drastically. Every type 1 diabetic you know, please share this video with them. Or one of my type 1 diabetes videos on my YouTube channel, please. Now, there's many side effects of a carnivore diet. We're not going to get into that today. This is not that kind of a live. Here's a good question. I get it all the time. Keep It Real says, how can I find a doctor in Tucson, Arizona? Let me give you guys a secret. I've changed my mind on this. I used to not know this, used to not believe this, but now I believe differently about this. Guess what? Keep it real. You do not need a keto-friendly doctor or a carnivore-friendly doctor. You do not need that. When you guys go to the doctor, if you're afraid your doctor's going to yell at you because you're eating keto or carnivore, here's what you tell your doctor. If they even ask about your diet, which usually they don't, but if they do, you say, I'm eating a sugar-free, whole food diet full of real whole foods, no ultra-processed foods whatsoever. It's ancestrally appropriate, and it's a very nutrient-dense diet. That's what you say. You can go back and watch this again and write that down if you want a script when you go to your doctor. Any doctor you say that to is going to say, oh, that sounds great. Now, what can I do for you today? There you go. Done. You ask that doctor for the labs that you need checked. If they don't want to check them, I've got strategies in my other YouTube videos and also in the book I wrote with Kim Howerton called Common Sense Labs. We've got strategies in there how to get your doctor to order lab work, or you can order it online. If you need a prescription medication, that doctor can prescribe that for you. If you need a test ordered or a scan ordered, that doctor can order that for you. You don't need a keto carnivore friendly doctor. Okay? Eating a proper human diet, which is what keto and carnivore are. You don't need a college degree to do that. All you're doing is eating the diet that we ate 10,000 years ago. You're just removing anything that was invented in the last 100 years, really. And then if you want to really tighten it up, you don't eat anything that humans didn't eat before 10,000 years ago. So you're going to be eating, if it's keto, you're going to be eating meat of all kinds, mainly ruminant meat, which is cow, sheep, goat, venison, camel, water buffalo, reindeer, depending on where you live. Half your plate's going to be meat and eggs with the yolk. Half your plate's going to be low-carb vegetables that are cooked. I wouldn't eat them raw. Then you're going to have a few low-carb nuts and a few berries for your dessert. That's keto. You don't need a college degree for that. You don't have to be a dietitian. There's nothing dangerous. Did you hear anything in there that's like, ooh, that sounds chemically, that's probably got nuclear waste in it. Ooh, that sounds like that was made in a chemical factory. It's just real food that humans have been eating for millions of years. That's all it is. And then people like Sonny asked the question, I think it's a valid question. If you're feeling great, you got great energy, you sleep great, your motivation's great, your mental clarity's great, you're attracted to the gender that you're attracted to, and you're like, let's go work out in the bedroom. Do you need to go see a doctor every 10 minutes, every 3 months, every 6 months? If you're not on any prescription medications and you have no symptoms, you literally feel better now than you did 10 years ago. Do you need a doctor? If you'd asked me that 10 years ago, I would say, yeah, after the age of 40 or 50, you probably ought to see a doctor once a year. But that was back when none of my patients were eating a proper human diet, living a proper human life. They were just eating whatever. They were eating the Kelsey Brothers cereal 3 days a week. If you're eating a junk food diet, you probably need to see the doctor at least once a year after the age of 50. But if you're eating a proper human diet and you're out in the morning sun and you're walking barefoot on the earth and you're doing some jumping jacks and some push-ups, do you need to see the doctor every so often? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that anymore. I would used to have said, yeah, once a year you need to see a doctor. I don't even know. I don't know about that. What do you think? Do you think yes or no? What if somebody's 60 and they feel amazing because they've adopted a proper human diet and a proper human life, literally have no symptoms, feel better now at 60 than they did at 40? Do they need to see the doctor once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, or not? I'd love to see y'all's, what do you think about that? Yeah, here's another great strategy. If your doctor says, how's your diet? Lori says, oh, I'm eating a modified Mediterranean diet. This is ninja level right here. That's a smart, okay? Because Nisha and I, we've been to multiple countries around the Mediterranean. We've seen what they eat. We never go to the tourist restaurants when we're in Europe. We go off about 3 streets over, away from the tourist section. We find the restaurants where the locals eat. We find restaurants that the menu is not in English. That's how you know you found an actual restaurant where actual people who live there eat there. If it's got pictures of the food or there's a little English, that's a tourist trap. When you get off into the real Italy, into the real Turkey, when you get off into real Slovenia, real Croatia, it's meat and cheese with a side of meat and cheese. They don't have mustard and ketchup as condiments. They have olive oil and vinegar. And the olive oil hits different there than what you buy here in the store. Yeah, modified Mediterranean diet, perfect strategy. Because the doctor, that's going to trigger, oh, Mediterranean, good, okay, good. No, and Lori is literally, she's eating a carnivore diet. But in her pantry, she's got a bottle of olive oil. So that makes it a modified Mediterranean diet. See what she did there? Brilliant. I love it. Brilliant. I love it when you guys figure out you don't need a keto doctor. Just tell them you're eating a modified Mediterranean diet. Where did that go? Wow, those going fast. Dale says, do you speak Italian? No. No. Nisha and I speak a tiny bit of Spanish, tiny, un poquito. And then Italian's very similar to Spanish. So we can kind of sort of understand what they're saying, but we can't speak it. We definitely don't speak Slovenian or Croatian. We've been several of the countries around the Mediterranean. It is meat and cheese and seafood. And when you get some pasta, it's a tiny serving. It's not like this mounted up plate that you get in America. It's like an appetizer. It's a tiny little portion. And of course, you can have carbs around the Mediterranean Ocean at real restaurants there. But if you don't want carbs, it is easy to eat low carb or keto around the Mediterranean Ocean. Absolutely easy. I like this motto. Paul says, a ribeye a day helps keep the doctor away. How times change. How times change. James, I see you keep asking this question. Wife is on blood thinners and wonder why she can't get her INR up. She just needs to keep slowly increasing her dose of her blood thinner, and eventually her INR will get up high enough. A lot of doctors will tell you if you're taking coumadin or warfarin to avoid eating any greens. I don't think this is useful advice unless you're on a carnivore diet and you're fine with it. If you happen to love greens and you're on coumadin or warfarin, just eat the same amount of greens every day. That's the only compromise you got to make. Like, okay, I'm not going to quit greens, but also you can't eat 3 cups today and none tomorrow, then 1 cup and then 2 cups because your INR is going to be all over the place. If you love greens, just pick, okay, I'm going to eat a cup a day and eat the same amount every day. Then your doctor can adjust your coumadin or warfarin to that level, and then your INR will be normal. I figured that out years ago. I'm not sure how other doctors don't know that. Yeah, this is a very common strategy, Sherry. I hope you're doing well, Sherry. I have a friend who's type 1 that uses her diabetes to control her weight by eating junk food and not taking her insulin. You will lose weight like you've got cancer if you do that. This is because what happens is her blood sugar, Sherry, is 300, 400, 500. She's glycating all of her cells and tissues and organs. It's very, very dangerous. I don't want to pick your friends for you, but if she's been doing this for years and she's going to continue to do this, and you truly love her with your heart, you might consider pulling away because she won't be around many more years. This is super dangerous. Teenagers with type 1 diabetes, I've seen teenagers in my practice do this, and they'll be 20, 30 pounds overweight at one visit. Then 6 months later at the next visit, they're 30 pounds lighter, but their A1C has went from 5.9 up to 9.7. And I'm like, you've lost quite a bit of weight. And they're like, yeah, I'm trying to lose some weight. And I'm like, yeah, are you doing it by not taking your insulin? And they're always like, are you psychic? How did you know that? It's like, I understand human physiology. This is super dangerous. Please stop doing this. If you want to lose fat, then go on a very, very low carb diet. You can't eat carbs and then not take your insulin. You'll lose weight, but you'll be a skinny corpse, or you'll be a skinny nursing home resident in just a few years. So please share this with your friend, Sherry. She cannot keep doing that. That is super dangerous. All right, guys, that's the hour. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's not too late to hit the share button and help somebody who does not know this stuff learn the truth. I appreciate you hanging out with me and sharing this video. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing to help me promote the American Diabetes Society, who's helping every person with diabetes know that they deserve and can achieve a normal A1C by eating a proper human diet. That's it. I'm out. See y'all